Welcome to this week's edition of Government Business Today. I am your host, Hughes, and I am always on here with the Hall of Famer himself, Robert Lendrim. If you don't know and you had not had an opportunity to meet Robert, Robert literally is a Wall Street Hall of Famer. And I'm going to tell you what, if you want to know something about finance, that is the guy. The joke is, of course, if you can find him. And so the best place to find Robert is right here on Government Business Today. And so I'm always excited to have Robert on with us each week. And guys, guess what? I'm excited to have our guest on this week, Errol Allen. That's right, Errol, like Errol Flynn, for those of you who are old enough to remember who that is. Errol Allen is going to join us today. And this week's topic, guys, is going to be stellar customer service. Why? Because if you are a government contractor, one of the things you're going to want to do is make sure that you take steps to make sure that your company can position itself and have a reputation for great customer service, because when you're serving government agencies, you're going to be forming relationships with contracting officers. And guess what? Contracting officers are people too. So, Robert, before we get in with Errol, how you been doing? What's been happening, man?
Good. It's been like weeks since we've been on this live together from last Thursday's debacle with me going out and you having COVID, and so it's good to get back in the saddle again. The weather's finally broken up here in Connecticut, which is great. You got a lot going on in the state of Connecticut with respect to manufacturing and government spending, and continuing to just proselytize and spread the gospel as far as what we're doing and about how we're going about doing it. So it's been busy. It's been good.
Yeah. No, it really has been busy, man. This week I've been getting prepped for our upcoming speaking engagement that we're going to be having with Amazon, the Amazon Business Summit.
Yeah, you sent me that email. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And so specifically, I'm going to be talking about, they're having me there just to talk about giving people some basic foundational information on how to go about getting loans, and then how to go about building and managing business credit. So I'm really kind of fired up about that. Those of you who would like to attend that, make sure you reach out to us. You can reach out to us directly on our podcast page. You can go out to www.aca.credit/podcast, and you'll get the opportunity to be able to reach out and connect with us, or you can just give us a call at 800-656-6498 and dial in option 2. You'll get a chance to talk to our friendly support team and get some information. We'll send it right out to you so that you can get registered. It's a free event for small businesses who are looking to be able to provide commercial products to government agencies. And we're even going to talk about some of those opportunities that exist on the consumer side as well. So you don't want to miss that. Now, having said that, this is a great segue into customer service. My good friend and longtime colleague, Errol Allen. Errol, welcome to Government Business Today, man.
Thank you, man. I'm just glad to be here and hang out with you for a little bit. Thank you, sir.
Hey, not a problem, man. So I'm really excited for you to be on here, man, because, right now, first of all, I want to congratulate you on all the success that you have had in your business, but more importantly, the tremendous impact that you have had on helping other businesses really deliver stellar customer service. And right now, with all the flux and everything that's going on, man, I'm really happy to get you on here because I'm going to pick your brain a little bit. So if I ask you a question that's bad form, you could just, put the X sign up and let me know that you're not going to answer that kind of question, and then we'll move on to the next one.
It's like, no. Hey, Errol. So real quick, so I'm going to jump in. So you've been doing this since 2011. Is that right? Did I see that correctly?
Yeah, right around that time.
So I mean, you and Irv have known each other for eons, but maybe just a little bit about on your background, how you got into this, and doing this now for, over 10 years, you've got just a wealth of experience, and I'd love to hear more about that. But how'd you get into this?
Well, my corporate background was mostly centered around customer service, some form of, either kind of started off in a call center environment, dealing with people over the phone. Then I worked for, my last corporate stop was with Geico. Dealing with people in the field. Just everything has been customer service personnel, in a call center environment, managing quality analysts in the call center environment, and then just servicing the customer myself. So that's kind of been my whole background. And then I got into, at one corporate stop, I got into analyzing processes. How things were done within the various departments at that company. And that's what I really focus on now, pretty much with my clients, is documenting their processes, looking at how they do what they do, making sure they're efficient and effective, have good communication, good handoffs. So my whole background has been customer service related.
That's fantastic. So, but right before we jumped on, I'd asked how many companies you thought that you had helped over these last years. Did you give, I mean, are you up to 500, 1,000? I mean, like, how long does a typical mandate last?
Not that many. My engaged clients normally last at least a year to 18 months, looking at all of their processes, establishing key performance indicator, creating role descriptions, try to understand who's responsible for what. So that just depends on how many processes we're looking at. It can go for a year to 18 months, because I meet with my clients once per week. So it can take that long to get through everything. They'll see progress. They'll see things change along the way, but to get everything that we want to do, it usually takes at least a year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, Errol, talking about processes and getting into that. So now let me ask you, do you actually, because that's a long time, at least in my mind, it seems like it is. So when you're getting into the processes, are you also documenting, or are you building some sort of, I don't know, manual or something that everybody can kind of go by? Can you speak about that? Like what exactly happens once you identify some of these processes? Obviously, I would assume you're going to identify some gaps in there, because everybody has them at some point. And so do you actually develop something that, kind of a guidebook that companies can follow?
Yeah, it depends on the client. The first thing we want to do with everybody is we want to flow chart the process, right? Map it out. And there's people that I want in the session, the people that do the work and the people that are impacted by the work, right? When we're flow charting the process. That's who I want in the session. So we flow chart it first, to identify gaps, to make sure we got all the steps. The flow chart is just the what. What steps are you taking to get this process done? So we want to make sure we have all of the steps. We want, where there's handoffs, we want to make sure that the next person knows it's their turn. How are they triggered to do what they need to do? We want to make sure that there's good communication. If you're communicating with somebody, what do they need to know? What do they need to receive? And to make sure that when you hand it off to them, they get what they need, they know what they're supposed to do, right? So there's no coming back. Because anytime you're coming back, you're creating a delay in things getting done, right?
Sure.
So then after we get the flow chart right, things are mapped out. Now you can create the standard operating procedure. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can either decide you want a written document. Some people do. or you can do videos. Some people like video better, right? So if you want to do the written document, okay, I can help you do that. If you want the videos, then I recommend, okay, there's a person that's doing this task, right? When they're doing it, have them to create the video and narrate, right?
Okay.
So there's a couple ways to do it.
Okay. So I'm glad you touched on communication, because I want to drill down on that, because right now, especially with regard to government contractors and all the supply chain flux that's going on. So what can a business owner do to sort of communicate or better communicate with somebody who might be frustrated with something that's going on that may be beyond the company's control, like a supply chain issue? If you're out here selling widgets, but your widgets are sitting out on a boat somewhere outside of the port of Los Angeles, there's not a whole lot you as a business owner can necessarily do about that. And most people, especially in the government space, in the public sector, most of them are very aware that there are, in fact, supply chain issues that do operate way outside of what a small business might be able to do. But I guess what I'm asking is, what are some of those tips that you can give some of our listeners, on how to go about communicating that, hey, there's an issue with availability. That contracting officer may be a little bit frustrated that they can't get this particular product. What are some tips what would you recommend somebody be able to say in that communication, whether that's written or oral or both?
Well, like you said, most of the time people, they're aware of the supply chain issues, stuff sitting out on the boat somewhere, a whole lot you can do. But when you find out information, communicate the information, right? When you know, make sure they know. Be timely about your communication. When you know, make sure they know. Don't make them have to call you or email you to find out what's going on. That's usually where the frustration comes in, when there's no communication as to the status of their product or whatever it is that they're waiting for. When there's no update from the provider, that's where the frustration comes in, because after all, they're paying you for that product and may have already paid for it, right? So the key is communicate. When you know, make sure they know. The instant you know, say something, right? Don't no gaps. You know, they know.
Ooh, I like that, yeah. Errol. You're a poet, and I didn't know it, man. So when you, what is it again? When you know, say something.
Yeah. It's most people are understanding if we just say something, right? We get in trouble when we don't say anything or assume, well, there's supply chain issues. Well, yeah, in general, I know, but I want to know what's going on with my product, So when you're updating me, right? So when you know,
Errol, that's so true. I mean, you've got a number of great YouTube videos on your website, and in fact, actually, a couple of the videos that really struck me was exactly what you were just talking about, is putting in that process as far as communicating with that client, being proactive rather than reactive.
Right.
And how are you going about doing that? And it really resonated with me, because there's some days where I feel like, okay, how do I, is this the right time for me to be doing the follow-up, or should I wait a day? I mean, it's just my stuff, so it's not like I have 1,000 or 500 people or even 50 people. So but I understand that process and how important that is for larger organizations. Because if you can routinize that, then all of a sudden you create this institutional memory of actually going about doing what you're just saying, which is great. And anybody that's out there, I would encourage you to jump on some of these YouTube videos that Errol's put out. They're 2 to 3.5, 4 minutes long and super instructional, especially the one about your mama's breakfast. I forgot. I love that. That was a good one.
It's important to just communicate.
Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha. So, Errol, what are some of those? Because I know when you start talking about processes, all of a sudden you start, especially in companies, right? You start talking about systems and things like that. What are some systems? I guess what types of systems do you recommend that somebody use to better maintain or manage those relationships with their customers, so that at least there's some sort of process and documentation going on with communications between, say, the company and their customers?
I think every company should have a customer relationship management system. You hear people say CRM. That's what CRM means. Mm-hmm. So that way you can set up your CRM to do certain things, right? When you get a lead, how do you manage the lead, right? When you get a customer, how do you manage the customer? When you get an order, how do you manage the order, right? You can set up the CRM. I use Pipedrive. Pipedrive is a good one that I would recommend anybody, because you can automate it to do certain things. You can automate when this action happens, you can automate a trigger, right, to set up a reminder, so that, because most people are not sitting waiting for something to happen. They're usually engaged in doing something, right? But if you can get something to pop up in front of you to remind you, right, that you need to do this, or it goes on your calendar to remind you need to do this, right? So I would get a good CRM. There's a bunch of them out there. I just happen to use Pipedrive to help you to manage your customers and the relationship you have, right?
So, Errol, and I'm glad we're touching on this, because when it comes to CRMs, or really just about any kind of internal system with internal controls, for some companies, there can be an adoption issue. And what I mean by that is that the employees, yes, that capability exists. Yes, the company may have put it in place, but then the employees still want to use sticky notes, for example. And so they don't necessarily see it as a win, because now I got to type in this system that, yes, I talked to such and so, or I did this. And how do you advise a company, especially management, to get the employees involved in actually adopting whatever that CRM system might be?
Okay. You first of all, you talk about why. Why do we want to do this, right? And you involve the people that are going to have to utilize it in selecting which one you use, right? Which one is going to give you the most of what you need for everybody that has to use it. So you involve them from the beginning, right? So now you kind of have their buy-in, right? But always start with the why. We want to do this because what's the impact and the outcome of using this system versus what we're doing now? Because maybe you're having some failure. Things are falling through the crack. Customers are complaining. You're losing business, right? You start with the why and include them on selecting what it is you're going to ask them to use. So if you do those two things, usually the adoption rate is very, very high. Right? Every once in a while, you have a knucklehead that wants to do what they want to do. Right? Most. Here's what I say: most people come to work to do a good job. Most people do. Every once in a while, you get a knucklehead who wants to do what they want to do. Then you have to decide how you include them first, right? So if you include them on the front end. If you include them on the front end, then you normally have the buy-in when you do that. So,
Well, it's especially important where you said in the past about the internal customers as well as your external customers, and I especially like that. And I mean, obviously we're on the government supply, the government supply chain, and and along those lines, and but I especially think that's particularly relevant with the large organization where you have quote stakeholders, to use a big corporate phrase, right? And they all have these, internal customers and external, right? And I like your perspective on that.
Yeah, because
so,
go ahead, Eric.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have let you address Robert's statement there.
That's where a lot of the disconnects is because maybe I don't understand who my internal customer is and what they need, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where you have a lot of the disconnects. It creates poor morale within the company because somebody's going to be complaining, I never get what I need in the way I need it. And it's because somebody doesn't understand that that's their internal customer. So what I advise my clients to do, I'll give them a little exercise. Have your employees to tell you who their internal customer is, right? When I finish what I'm doing, whatever my task is, and I'm completed with it, where does it go, right? So go where it goes.
I like that.
And ask that person, am I giving you what you need in order for you to do what you need to do, right? So now you have good communication across functions, right, within your company. And your morale is going to probably be even higher because it's like we care about one another. I want to make sure I'm serving you well. And in turn, the external customer is going to be served well too because you're connected internally. It's just
so Errol. So for a company that's small, and I'm talking about 1 to 10 employees, right? A lot of times those small companies, sometimes, especially now coming off of the pandemic, and some of these guys are trying to climb out and get back in from just a revenue standpoint. When you come in and you start talking about customer service, and that can lead to them needing to make some investments in some software tools and processes and things like that. And they may be a lot of times either unwilling or unable, or at the very least reluctant to make those investments, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How do you justify for a small business to make the investment, the cost investment necessary to implement the systems and the tools or resources necessary to improve on customer service?
Well, you asked the question, is it your goal to grow as a company, right? Is that one of your goals? Most people say yes, right? So then you get them to see how, looking at their processes, getting software to manage their business, what is that going to mean to your goal to grow? How is that going to help you? Yes, there's going to be a financial investment, a time investment, but think long term, right? Think long term. How is that going to help me get to where I want to be? So you, as Stephen Covey used to say, you begin with the end in mind, right? And work backwards, right? How is that going to get me where I want to be? So you just simply show them, when you do this, here's how it's going to help you. It's going to help you manage your business better. It's going to help you to manage your employees better when everybody knows what they're supposed to do and how to do it. It's going to help you be able to train new employees better when you have your processes documented. That makes training easier, right? So you just, once again, you start with the why, right? Why do you want to do this? Why should you do this? What's the long-term outcome of doing this, right? So you start, yeah.
So is there, Errol, I got to ask this while I got you, man. Is there any particular customer service case that just sticks out in your mind?
Oh, yeah. I knew this was coming.
that boy, you guys really needed me, and look, I'm not going to put you on the spot. Don't say names or any of that. but Is there any one particular case that really sticks out in your mind that you can maybe share with our listening audience about the kinds of things that was happening that let you know that, man, y'all really need some help here?
Oh Lord, wait a minute. Let me think, man.
Errol's thinking about all of these NDAs. He's like, okay, wait, I can't say that company because of the NDA.
Okay. There was one client that there were several people doing the same job, right? Several people doing the same job. So I went to flow one of the processes, So I'm sitting between these two people, right? And I'm like, okay, we're gonna flow this process today. So what's the trigger? So they both told me what the trigger was. They both said the same thing. But as we start going through it, what we determined was, now they're sitting right next to one another, but they're doing the same task, right? But they were doing it totally different, right? So I'm sitting between them, and this one on this side, she looked around, she said, "You do what?" And this one said, "Well, I do so and so and so and so." And she's like, "Well, why do you do it like that?" And so she said, "Well, I do it like that because," and I'm thinking, y'all sitting this close together doing the same task and doing it totally different. So I said, wait. I said, okay. What's going to be the best way to do it? The best way for the customer and the best way for the company and for the people that's connected to it. So we still laugh because the owners and I are friends now, right? So we still laugh. They tell this story more than I do. We still laugh about that, about me sitting between these two people and find out they're doing the same task totally different. So that's like, wow, what's going on? And then I start thinking, well, what else is being, people are doing? I was like, okay, so that's a funny one.
So look, Errol. So sometimes you wind up being a referee too, huh?
A lot of times,
I want you to know I love that look on your face when you.
Yeah, the look is priceless. A lot of times.
A lot of times, I even had a client tell me that I need to be a psychologist, right? Because I don't know what it is, but employees tell the consultant everything. They do. Mm-hmm. They do. They tell them everything, man. So. And even some of my business owners, they confide in me things that they're dealing with, and Errol, what do you think? Even my phone might ring in 5 minutes, and somebody's, hey, what do you think about whatever, and I finished their project years ago, but they still call, hey, we're thinking about what do you think, so it's just fun for me, to be able to. Help people and provide value. That's my main goal, is to provide value.
Love it.
Right? So
that's great.
It's just fun.
Hey, Errol, we're coming up on the end right here, and so I can't let you go without you giving a couple of takeaways for our listeners. What are some immediate things that you can just recommend to anybody to just better run their customer service business?
Okay. Two things. Document your customer complaints, right? That'll give you ways to improve right there. Especially when you document, you're going to be able to identify patterns. Are you getting the same kind of complaint, right? And listen to your employees. What are they complaining about? What are they frustrated about? Because they're giving you signals on what you can look at and improve. Be diligent about training your employees well, especially your employees that are customer facing, right? Make sure because people are smart now, they can go online and look up stuff. And when they contact your business and it doesn't sound like your people know what they're talking about, they're probably going to deal with you. So make sure your employees are trained well. They know your product, know your service inside and out.
Okay, no, That's good stuff. So Errol, now inherently, some of our listeners are absolutely going to want to connect with you. So how do our listeners need to connect with you? What's the best way for them to reach out and get some of your material and so on?
Well, go to the website, errolallenconsulting.com, or you can simply text me at 281-467-9189, or call me at the same number. I'm on LinkedIn, Errol Allen. Just look me up on LinkedIn. You can message me through LinkedIn. Those are, probably some of the best ways to reach out to me.
Okay. Well, hey, man, listen, that is fantastic. I am thrilled to have had you on there. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on Government Business Today and sharing your wisdom and your years of experience in helping small businesses deliver stellar customer service. I know that's a thing, and I've actually seen it in person and at work. And so again, man, thank you so much for the great job that you do and continue to do for small business. Robert, anything you come up with? Robert? I don't know if Robert can hear me.
Hey, guys.
Okay, so Robert, anything you want to wrap up with before we let Errol go? No? Okay. I have no idea what happened to Robert's connection. But at any rate, thanks so much, everyone. And until next week, we will see you right here next week. Remember, 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Central, right here on Government Business Today. If you have found this information to be meaningful and relevant to you and your business, again, help us spread the word. By all means, pass it on and your favorite social media platforms. Until next time, we'll see you real soon. Take care, guys.